This episode of the Breakthrough Success Podcast is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is your business's command center. The easy-to-use app powers your sales, operations, and customer service all in one place. Go check them out at getjobber.com/breakthrough to receive 20% off your first 6 months. What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Mark Burry, the podcasting coach here, and the world is just moving at such a rapid pace, and I feel like there's just going to be so many different changes that hit the way we work and hit the workplace. So we actually have a really awesome guest who's going to share with us some thoughts on what we can expect the future of our work and workplace is going to look like. Our guest is a successful marketer, author, and entrepreneur and student of popular culture with a deep background in digital dating back to 1994. He is currently the global head of marketing for Cisco's Webex.com and previously was the chief marketing officer for Voicea, which was acquired by Cisco in 2019. Cory was also a CMO for BlueKai, the leading cloud-based marketing data management platform acquired by Oracle in 2014, where he became CMO of the Oracle Data Cloud. And before going in-house as a B2B marketer, our guest pioneered the digital agency world by launching strategy firm Catalyst SF and as an executive in industry-leading agencies such as iTraffic, Freestyle Interactive, and Carrot. Our guest who joins us is none other than Cory Treffiletti. Cory, welcome to the show.
Mark, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cory, that is a really incredible body of work, and I do definitely want to get into, work and workplace trends and different things we should look out for. But can you talk about how you were able to build up and really getting started early in digital and building into what you are now?
Yeah. So I am one of the very few people in the world who went to college knowing exactly what he was going to go do and did some version of that. I actually started out with the idea of being in advertising and being in marketing. And I went to school to do so. And I remember very clearly that a teacher of mine at the time had said, if you want to be good in this world of advertising and marketing, you need to become a student of popular culture. You need to be able to understand what makes people tick, what gets them excited, what gets them motivated, and what gets them to respond. So I did a lot of that. I tend to read a lot about popular culture, more so than I read business books. And I tap into things that I get passionate about, I get excited about. And I try to use those and I try to learn from those. And then I surround myself with people who I think are infinitely more intelligent than I am. And I try to sponge and learn from them. And then my job, I think what I'm good at and what I think I've been successful at is I'm good at connecting the dots because I understand what people are looking for and I can connect two different disparate ideas together in a way that makes sense and people can follow that path. And so far that's worked out pretty well.
I mean, it's really important to know what you want to do. I mean, Cory was able to notice at an early age in college, which, allowed him to make different decisions that led him on that right path to doing what he wanted to do. And now he's been, like, when we say, future of work and workplace trends, I mean, Cory's been someone who's been in all these different big companies, started a bunch of different companies. So he's seen a lot of this stuff firsthand. So I'm wondering, what do you see as the future of how we work and some of the workplace trends that you see?
There's a lot of things that are going on, Mark, and no matter where you look, I think there's one identifying trend you can see throughout, which is about flexibility. There are smart people all over the place. They're not always going to be condensed in major cities, in major metropolitan areas. You need to be able to tap into smart people no matter where they are. And on the other side of that, you need to give them more flexibility in how they operate, because you or I or any of the people that I'm sitting here and working with on a daily basis, they probably have families and they have significant others and they have other interests and things that don't fit into a rigorous 9 to 5 schedule or a 5 to 10 schedule or whatever they might be. So you have to have flexibility. You have to be able to do your job, weave it into the way you live your daily life, and it needs to be able to be done anywhere. And that idea of being flexible has been compounded with the access to information and the rise of mobile in the workplace. Because now you have a mobile phone that is more powerful than any computer I started out with 25 years ago, 26 years ago. And that the tool you have in your pocket enables you to be connected to any kind of information to collaborate on the go, to be connected to people you work with. So the ability to work, be productive, be collaborative, no matter where you are, if you're in an office, if you're working from home, if you're on the road, no matter where you are. We're doing a video call right now, which is getting recorded for a podcast. That is something that didn't really have wide-ranging success 15, 10, 5 years ago. But people are adopting these tools now, and they give you the opportunity to be connected and be flexible. And that just creates a better workforce.
Yeah, and like again, like technology is definitely a big part of that. I do like how you mentioned the whole flexibility piece because, we have more than just our 9 to 5, like for people who are in that 9 to 5 environment. And you do see this for entrepreneurs and business owners, like regardless of what walk of life you are on, there is more than just that 9 to 5. So, or the work. So how do you see people being able to better balance their work responsibilities with spending time with family and doing other things like that in life?
It's a great question. You think about it, you want to be good at everything you do. You take pride in your work, you take pride in your family. It is an extension of being a human being. Human beings have emotions, and you want those emotions to be able to be exercised and surfaced no matter what you're doing. And sometimes, if you go back maybe 10, 15 years ago, you had to make a decision of, excuse me, maybe I can't make this event with my family because I have an event that I have to be at work. Maybe I'm not going to be able to make the soccer game because I have to be on a conference call with the folks in Asia, and I'm not going to be able to separate from that. Well, these days you have the ability to say, I'm not going to miss my kid's soccer game. I'm going to do that call from the car on my way to the soccer game. So I don't have to make that clear delineation of one or the other. I can weave the two things together. I can ask somebody to say, hey, it used to be that I had to do these calls from 9 to 5 because I was in my office where my desktop computer was going to be. Now I've got a laptop and a mobile phone. I can do that call and have access to that information through VPN and be anywhere. So it's a less of a strict line. It's more of a blurry line, but it enables me to have access to that information to make those decisions so that I can go to the parking lot of my kid's soccer game. I can do the quick call and get everything caught up. I can have the notes taken with an AI from that conversation, immediately pushed to my team. Then I can go watch my kid, score the winning goal.
And I mean, the level of like automation, you mentioned something really important there, having the AI do the work and send it to your team. That level of automation just makes it easier because it's sometimes people fall into the situation where they're doing a lot of work, they're grinding, but they're very easily doing things that can be automated or made a little quicker. Like I know for me personally, like I set the goal of writing a book every 2 weeks because that's just a model that works for me. And I like to type it out, but I know that if you talk it out, it's a lot quicker. So you do want to look for different ways to automate and ways to speed up different processes so that you're not spending as much time on the same task. And then you do have time to watch that winning goal instead of sending like the email to your team when that goal is getting shot. So how do you suggest we get better automation? I feel like that is one of the weaker points for a lot of business owners.
I think you're going to see more and more of that being adopted over the coming months and coming years. So AI has been a tool that people talk about for years. Right? The idea of artificial intelligence. I think what you're starting to see is that people have been surrounding themselves with elements of AI for the last 5 or 6 years on a personal basis. It's as simple as when you log into Amazon and you get recommendations on products, that's AI. When you go into Spotify, you go into Netflix, they recommend something to you, that's AI. And it's very subtle AI, it's passive AI that's happening in the background. Well, now that's working itself into the workplace, and you're starting to see that these conference systems are having virtual assistants baked into them that are listening, transcribing, and taking notes for you. And you can use voice commands and you can use trigger words and commands like that to get some of those things highlighted and extracted and worked out into a summary. Those types of things are becoming more engaging, more useful. You have other tools like there's Grammarly. Grammarly is a great product that you use as an insert into a browser, and it fixes your grammar along the way. That's AI. So what you're fundamentally seeing is that the worker for today's knowledge worker, is surrounding themselves what we refer to as an AI exoskeleton. It's kind of like Tony Stark becomes Iron Man by putting on that suit of armor. Any individual worker in the workplace now can pick and choose some of these tools they surround themselves with to increase their own productivity. And sometimes it's going to stay at that individual level. Some of them are going to graduate up and become something that's utilized by the company around them, and maybe they're full entire teams. But fundamentally, you can pick and choose some of these tools already, and they're very inexpensive, and they usually integrate quite well together because of all the way that cloud-based technology is set up these days. And it makes it more productive. It makes it easier for you to focus. Even in a conversation like this, the fact that I can look you in the eye, even though we are nowhere near each other right now, we can have a conversation. I don't have to sit here and worry about taking notes because maybe something's being recorded and I've got the notes being transcribed on the side. I have all those tools available to me. So it makes it easier to have that human connection and to have a better just business relationship that way.
And Corey mentions a key thing, which is better human connection. I do feel like one of the headlines around, like when you see social media and the online digital web, one of the things is like we are able to be more connected than ever before, but we've also lost the human connection. So you have seen, like, even with this online stuff, people aren't able to engage with each other as well face to face. But technology, like right now, we're using Webex, to be 100% honest, is like a relatively new tool I'm using. I'm definitely liking the look of it already, but I mean, we're able to see each other face to face and interact with each other, and the human connection, I feel like that's more in reach for more people from a business context rather than just sitting behind a computer and typing away.
Yeah, I mean, human beings are instinctually required to connect. They have to see people. We have to talk to people. We're social animals. A lot of how you learn is by talking and engaging with somebody. The fact that you write a book every 2 weeks to me is shocking, but I think you probably have a lot of ideas because you talk to people. And so the more you talk to people, the better you are able to come up with more ideas. And we in a world where you can't always travel, and the people you're talking to and the people you're trying to do business with are further and further away, you need tools like this to be able to establish this kind of connection. And unfortunately, the last few years was a world where if I sat in front of my computer, I was probably doing an audio call with my computer. I was getting text messages on my phone, little alerts from my email, and all these other things are happening which are distracting me from the conversation. But when you put a video call up in front of somebody and you look somebody in the eye, it's rude to be distracted. So by nature, you tend to put more of those things to the side and you focus on the person. Now, if you especially can do so and feel confident that the notes are being captured, the information is going to be available to you or to anybody else that you want to work with later on, that increases the confidence level. That helps collaboration in the long term. And it just makes, once again, business more productive.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like doing the video interviews rather than the audio interviews because it is like I'm really talking to Corey. It's not like I'm talking to my computer screen and just Corey's voice just happens to be popping out. So, I mean, it's just a matter of using these different things. But I think part of it is overwhelmed because we're using WebEx right now. I've used Zoom for a while, Skype. Like there's all these different options. And I feel like for me, when I tried to start a podcast, I wasn't able to do it twice because of all the overwhelm, like all these different podcast hosting options and stuff like that. So with all these different options around us, how do we really get more clear on like which ones we should be doing and being able to utilize them instead of feeling overwhelmed?
Well, obviously I'm biased, but I'm not going to get into that.
I
I think it comes
understand.
down to your personal taste. You have to look at the tools you've got. You got to be comfortable with them. I think many tools, they do require a little bit of ramp up, and that ramp up could be 5 minutes. It could be a couple of hours. It depends on how engaged and in depth you want to be and how much of an expert you want to be on that type of technology. So I think it just comes down to personal taste. Like you have to choose what you like, what gives you the most capabilities that you're looking for, and then you're comfortable and you're off to the races. It's hard. There's a lot of parity with these technologies, so you just got to look around and figure out what solves your needs.
Yeah, you do have to experiment with them. And I have used Skype. That just didn't work personally for me for the interviews. Zoom, it's worked really well. This is my first WebEx, so I just have to try more of these to see if this is going to be the thing that I go with over Zoom. But again, it's like you keep experimenting with these different things to really figure out what it is you want to be utilizing. So instead of getting overwhelmed by these different options, try them a little bit
Mhm.
and then come to your conclusion of what best works for you.
And not to be the shill, but I'll tell you, if you look at the kind of things that we're doing from an innovation perspective, I did come from a company called Voicea, which was acquired by Cisco. So in the next few weeks, you're going to start to see a virtual assistant integrated into this platform, which will transcribe in real time, will transcribe the audio for you, and will take notes for you. So those kinds of things are pretty cool.
Is that You see, I have to ask this because I'm a podcast host. Is that like a free thing or is that like a paid version of it?
The transcription part of it, I believe, is going to be free and in the freemium version. And then the note taking element is an add-on that you pay for later.
Wow, nice. See, I don't want to go too much into this because I know that's not our topic, but as a podcaster, something like that definitely interests me. So that's one of those like to be continued kinds of things. But I mean, just like again, like I feel like we hear all the time, like, like 5 years ago we didn't have this, 10 years ago we didn't have this. I mean, it's amazing to think what the world could look like 5 years from now and all the different things that can be in it, especially with AI being a bigger force. So, I mean, what do you see in like 5 more years? Like any kind of things we should be looking out for?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see in 5 years is the increased usage of voice as the UI. You know, um, Coming out of a voice-driven AI company where we had a virtual assistant that's getting integrated into Webex, you could use voice commands. You could ask it to do things like schedule follow-up meetings. You could ask it to take a note. You could ask it to send the notes out to all the attendees. Going forward, a lot of what you're seeing at home with tools like Alexa and Google Home and those devices, which are all voice activated, that's coming into the workplace. I recently bought a television and it had Alexa voice built into it. So I can turn the TV on and off by telling it to do so. I can tell it to change the channel. I can do all kinds of stuff. In the workplace, you're going to be having more productivity increases because voice is going to be enabled throughout. So when you walk into a room and you say, hey, WebEx, go start the meeting, or when you're on a meeting like this and I say, hey, go, etc., go and send the notes to Mark after the meeting, make sure he's got the transcript. So it automatically comes to you. Or if I say, hey, so and so, shoot a note to my wife, tell her I'll be home in about an hour, I'm stuck in traffic, and that automatically happens. I can talk to Siri, I can talk to whatever. Surrounding yourselves with voice technology is going to be a boon for productivity. Because I'll tell you, I suck at typing, and I can definitely, to your point, speak faster. And for the most part, I speak the same way that I write. So if I can combine those worlds, I can just get faster and more efficient.
We have more great content coming up in this episode, but first we have a message from today's sponsor, Jobber. Jobber's award-winning software helps small home service businesses organize their entire operations, from scheduling jobs and managing their crews to invoicing customers and collecting payments. That way, you can spend more time on the services you're already great at. Job by job, business by business, Jobber is transforming the ways their customers deliver service. Start your free trial over at getjobber.com/breakthrough. All right, let's get right back into the episode. I mean, I definitely feel that because I took a 14-minute video recently transcribed. I used Otter.ai for this particular transcription, and it came out to like 2,700 words. I can never type that fast in 14 minutes. I'd be really happy if I could get to like 1 or 1,500 words. So, I mean, just the transcription factor is really there. And I do feel like that's what holds a lot of people back. Like, like a lot of different things they know they should be doing, but they just don't have enough time. Like, I don't transcribe my podcast episodes. Part of it was like I didn't feel the need to, but now I see the need to. But it's like, how do I make that transition? So,
Yeah.
I feel I could definitely see it being a big opportunity for people who use it to boost their productivity and use it to increase their output.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And it's inevitable. That's where things are going to be going. That's where business is going. It's about how do you go back to the first point that we made, 15 minutes ago about flexibility, right? I don't want to be stuck trying to do 2 hours of follow-up from a 1 hour meeting. I don't want to be stuck trying to make sure that everything is getting delivered to where it needs to be. I want to be confident that it's getting delivered and that really the majority of my time is focused on being productive, collaborating directly with people, knowing the follow-up is going to get done. That more tools that can help me to do that, the better I feel about my work. And then back to the other point we talked about, I'm going to feel more confident. I'm going to have more pride in what I'm getting accomplished. And overall, I think everything just works better.
And you do mention confidence, and I feel like at a workplace or just like if you're an entrepreneur, like I know we're talking about workplace, but this really applies to whether you are at a job or not. But it's like that confidence factor is really big. And if you are productive, you're able to check more boxes off quicker and allows you to pursue new things. It's definitely going to help. Now, I do see, I agree with you. Like we've got Alexas. I want to say that a little low because there's one nearby, but
Yeah.
Like, we already see it a little bit where like instead of flipping through your phone to play your favorite music, you just ask it to play your music. And as this evolved, like my brother already uses it to set reminders and different things like that instead of typing them out and doing it that way. So I feel like we're at the crossroads. We're not quite at that stage yet where we could voice command pretty much anything, but for the confidence piece, how do you suggest like right now we build our confidence, whether at the workplace or just our work in general?
That's a hard question because, I look at it, I guess, two ways. Part of the pride that you have in the role that you accomplish at work is when you see the output of what you do. The other part about it is being able to explain it and to convey it to people and have them understand from a conversation what you do and walk away and feel like you added value. Because everybody ultimately wants to add value. The more value that you add, the more confident you are in your ability to continue to do so. I think being able to use some of these tools to help you be more efficient, more productive, that's a good part about it. But then also just being able to take what you do and digest it down, distill it down, and be explaining it to people. So it's really about communication. In a workplace, it's being able to convey to the people around you the value that you think you're bringing and how the collaboration between your group and some other group or you and some other people in your group, how you all work together better to have a more productive environment, 1+1 being 3. The more that you can do that, the more you can communicate that, the more you can convey that, I think you build confidence. That's why it's so hard, to be honest with you, as an entrepreneur. Like you probably work about 26, 27 hours a day. And you probably, there are days when you're questioning if what you're doing is really resonating because you're working by yourself so much of the time. Whereas when you have a team around you and you can work with that team and you can build off the energy from one another, that builds confidence. So even for general entrepreneurs and just for building success in your own business, I think you're trying to surround yourself with mentors, trying to surround yourself with advisors, trying to surround yourself with other people who you can just talk to and you can explain the benefit of what you're doing, the value that you're creating, and have them understand that and echo that back to you. That builds confidence by itself.
Yeah, I mean, just providing value and being around people. I mean, to some people in the workplace, I mean, like I'm around people all the time, but for entrepreneurs, like solopreneurs at home, like that's more important because like you're not really around people when you're working, and you might be the only one doing what you do in your like entire neighborhood, or like it may take you, you may have to drive really far in your community to actually find someone doing what you do. So finding those mentors online, being in those Facebook groups like the Breakthrough Success Facebook group, that's gonna really make a big difference for you.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That you talk about Facebook as a good tool for that. LinkedIn's a great tool for that. And then, like I said, never underestimate or never overlook or underestimate the value of mentors and advisors and people you can just talk to, whether it's a phone call, a video call, or in person for a coffee or tea. Those people are super helpful at helping you feel more confident that you're going around the right path.
Yeah, I mean, just all that little bit helps. And regardless of where the workplace goes and how our work changes, confidence is going to be one of those core pillars that you are definitely going to need. And another thing that I think you guys need to do, if you guys like Cory and what he's all about, we're going to include a link to Webex for you guys to try if you're interested. Just follow Cory's work. That's more of the direction that I want to go. Like, if you guys liked what Cory said, his work is something definitely you guys should follow. So, with that in mind, where are some good places we can find you and continue following you on your journey?
So you can find me on Twitter at Ctref, CTREFF, as in Frank. You can also find me at LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Ctref will actually work. And then, for shameless plugging, you can go on Amazon, search Cory Treffiletti, Internet Ad Pioneers, and you can see a book I wrote. So you can, any of those things, you can find me and reach me.
Well, we'll definitely have all those links in the show notes of this episode. Once again, Cory, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you on Breakthrough Success.
Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
This episode of the Breakthrough Success Podcast was brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is your business's command center. The easy-to-use app powers your sales, operations, and customer service all in one place. Start a free trial or sign up today to receive 20% off your first 6 months. Find out more at getjobber.com/breakthrough.